that river. It's yellow. You don't see that too often, do you? Now, this is not in China, where colorful smoke and water and air are the norm. This is in the United States. That's the Animas River in Colorado. 3 million gallons of toxic sludge were released. Zinc, copper, lead, arsenic. It's actually beautiful to look at, isn't it? Wouldn't want to swim in it or fish in it or drink it, though. That river crosses into New Mexico, joins up with the Colorado River. It will dilute itself over the course of miles. It's going to be okay. Here's an aquatic biologist checking out some juvenile fish that were in the river when the sludge passed through, and he says they're doing surprisingly well, but they'll run some more tests.
We didn't have a big fish kill in the river, so that's what it definitely tells us. The one thing we don't know is sort of long-term impacts to the aquatic community out here in general.
The governor of Colorado has declared a state of emergency for this disaster and has released funds for a response. I think this is spectacular in the literal meaning of the word. It's a spectacle. I mean, look at it, yellow water. But I suspect that once it gets into larger rivers, it'll be diluted in insignificant proportions. But who knows? Maybe this is a national disaster. We'll find out soon enough. But here's what we do know right now. No one is making a big deal about who released this sludge. I read a CBC story online, and they didn't mention who's responsible for this pollution until the 7th paragraph in the story. Isn't that funny? I mean, here's a typical CBC story when it's an oil sands company in Canada. Take a look at this. Dead duck found at site of Nexen pipeline spill. So a single bird was found dead. One bird. I have occasionally found dead birds in my own backyard. A single bird, and it's national news with the oil sands company's name in lights as an evildoer. So aren't you just the tiny bit curious who caused this 3 million gallon leak? Or as the CBC might put it, an 11 million liter leak, or 2 billion teaspoons? You think I'm kidding, but the media party always measures pollution in a way so the number can be as scary as possible. Anyways, yeah, so 3 million gallons of toxic sludge goes into a river, and you know who did it? Anyone? I mean, where are the journalists camped outside the corporate headquarters, stalking the executives, demanding accountability? Where are the press conferences where a pack of media wolves tear into the executives? Where's the outrage? Well, see, that's the thing. No corporate executives did this. No greedy corporation. This was a tailings pond that hasn't been used in 100 years. The Gold King mine was shut down a century ago, but the EPA, that stands for the Environmental Protection Agency, that's the federal environmental bureaucracy in Washington, they went up to this 100-year-old mine and were poking around, investigating some trickle, some small leak. They weren't even local authorities, they were from Washington. And the EPA itself caused this massive flood. For 100 years, this mine was fine. Through earthquakes, through everything, nothing set this off until the EPA came along to help everybody stay clean. The country's environmentalist watchdog caused this environmentalist disaster. Gee, no wonder they're not suing the polluters. No wonder the media aren't skewering the greedy executives, because the polluters and the executives are Obama's EPA. How do you sue yourself, right? Does one part of the EPA sue the other part? And does that one part pay a fine to the other part, like taking money from your left pocket to put in your right pocket? If this were a private company that did this, the executives would probably be named, shamed, and fired, like, say, the CEO of BP, British Petroleum, was, after their Gulf of Mexico explosion and leak. Do you think for a second that the head of the EPA would possibly get fired here, let alone resign? Of course not. Look, I think this leak is pretty bad. I think it looks extra bad because of the yellow color, but it's pretty shocking. I think a lot of people who live near that river want to know what went on, but the people who would normally give that information, the EPA, the media, and environmental lobbyists like Greenpeace, well, they don't really care, do they? They're not really for the environment. They're about socking it to private enterprise. When the government causes a disaster, boring. Next story. Is there some sparrow that died on the oil sands? Now that's a story. For TheRebel.media, I'm Ezra Levant.